Chris is going to love talking about this one. Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen calls method acting bullshit. Pardon my language. I apologize.
It's a quote. You have to say it.
Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore star Mads Mikkelsen calls out method acting with one blunt word. Bullshit. In an interview with GQ, the actor held nothing back when describing how he feels about the acting practice. Preparation you can take into intensity. Preparation you can take into insanity, he said. What if it's a shit film, but what do you think you've achieved? Am I impressed that you didn't drop character? You should have dropped it from the beginning. How do you prepare for a serial killer? You're going to spend 2 years checking it out? Method acting is a practice in which actors immerse themselves so deeply in a role that they embody the character they're portraying even off camera. Jeremy Strong's Succession and Lady Gaga in The House of Gucci are some recent high-profile examples, as well as Morbius's Jared Leto, who reportedly used crutches and a wheelchair to travel to the bathroom on set. Because he's playing Michael Morbius, who had So Leto is particular to have been known to use this method of acting for years. This is where they talk about.
This part is the worst. The mailing dead rodents.
He mailed Margot Robbie dead rodents and supposedly, though never proven, used condoms to people on set. It is very self-indulgent it's very surface level to be like, oh wow. You're conflating it's not the same thing as being good at acting. It's one method that might lead to a good performance, but it doesn't make you any less dedicated than somebody who arguably learning to turn the character off and then reaccessing those emotions from scene to scene would be more difficult to me. I know a decent amount about this stuff, about method and Meisner. Meisner's more focused on your surroundings, using surroundings.
Sense memory.
Sense memory
which
to
is
access.
the opposite of method acting in some ways.
Yes.
Based on two different kinds of interpretations.
Do you agree with him here?
I think he's kind of oversimplifying the conversation a bit,
yes.
but I think it's funny. I think what he's saying is interesting. I think it's funny and entertaining. I don't know. Method acting, it's a catch-all term for lots of different kind of goofy ways of performing. Yep. There's, the first kind of butting heads
and
of these two
that was Lee
traditions.
Strasberg, right? Strasberg Institute.
Strasberg,
I see
Stella
him,
Adler.
Stella Adler.
Yeah.
That's from what I understand, it's method acting is psychological, what is it? And then Adler technique is it's sociological, a sociological approach or something like that.
That might be the case,
slightly different takes on the practice, right?
Well, the whole method thing kind of stems back to Stanislavski, the Russian.
The name that the Russian theater.
Right. So, the first butting of heads of these two traditions of just acting versus method acting was Dustin Hoffman and Laurence Olivier in The Marathon Man. You've heard about this?
No.
Okay, famous anecdote. So Dustin Hoffman plays a guy in the movie Marathon Man in the 70s. I think it was 76. And to be a guy that's forced to stay up all night, he stayed up all night.
Yeah.
I think he maybe done it multiple times. And he did scenes with Laurence Olivier, the great, stage-trained British actor. And he saw that his scene partner was exhausted. And he went to Dustin Hoffman and he said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm staying up all night." And he said, "My dear boy, have you tried acting?" Which is famous advice, and there's been kind of two schools of thought that have splintered off ever since. Do you want to be like the rough and tumble, character actor that Dustin Hoffman and Pacino and De Niro kind of pioneered in the 70s, or are you more classically trained, more from a British school of thought, which is just you act tired, you aren't tired itself.
Yeah.
You're not putting that extra strain on your scene partners by giving them used condoms and dead rodents and stuff like that. So. But in any case, okay, to break it down very simply, so there is a reasonable explanation for method acting, and the best explanation came from Philip Seymour Hoffman when he played Capote. Mm-hmm. He said he stayed in character, but it wasn't necessarily like he was staying in character. It was just that he wanted to keep his voice and his posture in his body the whole time. Yeah. Because Philip Seymour Hoffman's a very different person from Truman Capote. Yeah. Everything from the voice to the physicality. So it's kind of like, you don't want to go out and play a basketball game without stretching and doing warm-ups.
That's more common. Actors who, British actors who play Americans will keep the accent offset. That's not the same thing as method acting.
Well, but I think it's a very fuzzy gray area because people that worked with him, you might be on set with Philip Seymour Hoffman when they're making that movie, and all of a sudden you feel like you're talking to Truman Capote because he's his physicality is a certain way and his voice is a certain way, but it's literally just like he's trying to make sure that his body stays in that place, so he's not Philip Seymour Hoffman and then Truman Capote. You know, I mean, he's just trying to maintain that level of physicality for the purposes of the scene, and that makes sense. Like, that's a reasonable explanation. But Daniel Day-Lewis, he's just trying to make up for the fact that he's just a British pansy that has to be treated a certain way.
By the way, Chris, share with Mary that Chris loves British people.
I'm allergic to British things.
I respect that.
Oh, really?
Immensely.
No kidding. Thank you. Do you share that allergy, or?
Yes, I do.
All right. Now we're talking.
I'm surrounded by bigots.
I think we just took what they had that was good and brought it over here, and then they were just left with like the mediocrities.
Yes. Yeah. From food to their awful culture. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, mostly the food.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
No fans of what is it? The pie, the shepherd's pie.
Those are my Irish people that came from. I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blood sausage.
Ugh.
Anyway, what do you take on? What do you think about what Mikkelsen said?
I think that that the concept of method acting is something that sells well in articles. Because it sounds like they're more it comes off as more dedicated to the craft.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, they use that claim when Heath Ledger died, which came out later is not true. That this wasn't what caused. He was already struggling with anxiety and insomnia far before doing the Joker role. But it made for great articles to be like, he got so immersed in this dangerous character that it led him to go off the deep end. Which sounds great when you're trying to make copy for your imprint, but it's not necessarily the truth. And I think it comes off as more of a it does a disservice to the people who do learn to turn it off and turn it on in their profession. Like, I can't imagine. Like we talk about that here, like what we do here, like I can have these conversations about all these topics all day, any day, but it's not the same as putting it out there in these in this setting, right? So who we are while we're recording this podcast, it's mostly who you are, but it's still like there's a level of intensity, there's a delivery that's not the same as you would be giving if we were having this discussion with Mary over there in her desk and you here and me here. If we were just talking, you're still presenting in a way. And so if even that is a level of performance, like you do, I feel like it does a disservice to the people who do have to learn how to turn it off and turn it on, because it's not always easy. When Mary started, I said, there's going to be days where you're going to come in and we're talking about stuff we're interested in, but there's going to be days where you're just not in the mood to do it, right? Like where you're tired, you're exhausted, you had a bad night, so you got into an argument with a friend and you just don't feel like doing it. But when you come on air, you need to project the same character that you do most episodes, right? Like you don't want to come off as a different person. There's people, they don't even have to hear what you're saying, but they know right away that something feels different. Mm-hmm. You don't know why, but you know that they do. So for an actor to be somehow lessened because they're able to turn it off and then turn it on seems almost insulting to me in a little bit. Did you do theater? Were you, okay, you did.
Afraid so, yeah.
Did you, what type of, did you have to use similar to, I mean, if you're theater trained, then you use a specific technique, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really much of an actor, although I did do a lot of acting. And I just I just took more of a working class approach, just say the lines, and more of a David Mamet school of thought. Yeah. You know, I mean, David Mamet pioneered this whole technique that's kind of like totally against method acting, and not really so much Meisner either. It's just like the lines are just words on a page. Yeah. Say the lines. Yeah. Or his advice, which I think is probably the best acting advice ever, is hit your mark, look the other fellow in the eye, and tell the truth.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
That's always the line there. I was like, I want to accept. They're like, I want to find the truth of this character.
Yeah, you can waste a lot of time with that nonsense.
That's a very common it's always sounds self-aggrandizing.
What's my motivation?
Yes, that's what it is. There's who is it? Ben Rifkin. He played the he was like one of the main characters on the show Alias. He's kind of he had a thing where they talk about how he has a very it's not wooden, but it's very fatherly delivery, but it works for all his roles. Like it's kind of a no nonsense approach to acting that he's never really changed because it works for the roles he's chosen to take. Doesn't make him any less of an actor. It means that he's found what he believes is the most authentic version of this character that just happens to work with his style of acting, and he gets the most out of that performance by doing so that way.
Yeah, that's something that really drives me crazy. Is people talk about actors that don't act, like they're always themselves.
Ryan Reynolds is considered to be like that.
Well, okay, sure. Well, so my favorite actor of all time, Michael Keaton, is that way. Like Bill Murray is like that. Like, and Bill Murray's dug into this in an interview once. He was just like, that's not easy. Like
No.
that's harder in many ways than trying to put on a kabuki mask and going full shouty Al Pacino. Like it's hard to like, okay, all these things are set, all the lights are going, all these people are around now. Just be yourself. Like that's in many ways that's a bigger challenge than going for Joker.
We loved. We went to see Sonic 2, and Jim Carrey is the Jimmiest Carreyest Jim Carrey you've ever seen. It's so 90s Jim Carrey. It's amazing.
It was good.
That's great.
He's doing the thing. He's like dancing and turning to the side. It's just like watching Ace Ventura.
Oh,
or
great.
Like he just knows how to move his face and move his body.
That's amazing.
There's a couple
That's
of
in a way-
like
it's just him.
There's a couple of like 45-degree hip turns that are like taken right from Batman Forever when he played the Riddler.
That's
like
amazing.
it's the same exact thing.
Oh
And
my God, I gotta see this.
And it's amazing. Like it's the most 90s thing, and I'm here for it. Like I said, the 90s are coming back.
Yeah,
if the 80s, if they just had to ruin the 80s by making horrible adaptations of all of the 80s cartoons, then damn it, I want the 90s to come back in a cool way by just taking those same actors, de-age them, and bring them back. I don't even want new actors to do it. I just want them to
love it.
Just bring back. I don't need. You know what they can do? They can Val Kilmer can come back and they can have like Val Kilmer. I'm sure he's got kids. Have Val Kilmer's voice done by his kids, and just bring Val Kilmer back and de-age him for everything.
Did you see the Val Kilmer documentary?
I did not watch it. I watched the first 5 minutes of it, and it was like
His son, who sounds just like him, did the voiceover, so it's perfect.
Even here, like sometimes I'll be in my office downstairs, and like I'll hear Chris talking, and he sounds just like Tim.
Yeah.
From the other room, I'm like, that doesn't sound like something he's like. There's definitely familial overlap there. So
sure.
Maybe I do agree with Mads Mikkelsen that maybe it's not bullshit, but maybe it's like maybe not that part of it, but that it's definitely like it does a disservice to the rest of the profession when they're like
it works. It's just more self-serving,
which is perfect for Hollywood. Which is why I looked it up. I was very curious. I don't know if I actually pulled these up. Like I looked up a list of method actors and a list of Meisner, of actors that execute Meisner, and the list of method actors is way longer. Maybe it's because it's all like a an execution, or like it's like narcissism, right? So Marlon Brando, Halle Berry, didn't work for her.
I've never heard that one.
Like some of these don't sound familiar to me.
Yeah.
I actually like Halle Berry, but
I don't think women can method act.
Why not?
It requires way too much losing oneself, and that's kind of what acting is.
You think they
women have so much more self-mythology. I don't think they can just throw that away so easily like men can.
There are some singular exceptions. The one being Charlize Theron in Monster, when she played so she plays the serial killer Eileen Warnhouse. That is probably one example I can think of a woman actor who has really just lost herself in the part.
And of course,
completely.
This is not alphabetized, so I can't see if they have her on here. But some of these don't even look like they would necessarily. Usually, when like I'm a serial IMDb'er, so I like anytime. Usually, if someone like very specific celebrities will get like it'll mention like where they studied and what technique they studied and a lot of their like interesting facts. And I did not see that for most of these people. Like I did not know Chadwick Boseman was a method actor, or that Leonardo DiCaprio, or I mean Johnny Depp I can buy. Tom Cruise, like
no, he's Meisner.
Like,
Tom Cruise is Meisner all the way.
There you go. Then this is go figure. Wikipedia is not accurate.
Yeah, no. Tom Cruise talked about that on his Inside the Actor Studio interview, because like he just literally doesn't understand what that means. It's like method acting. Like it's just not how he approaches it at all. It's all about sense memory. He's in Magnolia. His father character's dying. He's thinking about when his own father died, and then you get this powerful moment. It's all about sense memory when you're doing the Meisner technique.
And I think Adler actually, she spoke out against that too, or like not wanting to take that approach because she felt like it's exhausting, or I forget what she said. Maybe I'll look it up off the air, but she definitely mentioned something like that. Like that would be very difficult to do. So, so why is it that you think that women can't be method actors?
Yeah,
women just have. At least in my opinion, they have a very intricate self-mythology. Maybe they'd be more suited to this sense memory method because method acting requires you to completely throw away yourself. And as a whole, acting is perfect for narcissists because they don't have a sense of self anyways.
But
Man, that's why I think women wouldn't be as well suited to method acting.
Well,
They're less unhinged. Like, they can't fully throw themselves into something obsessively like men usually can because they're so other oriented, and men just, they have this quality that allows them to fixate completely on one thing at once. While women are more multitaskers and they're thinking about others.
I read an article recently that said multitasking is a myth and you can't actually multitask.
I saw that. Yeah, that's somebody that has
at switching between, not doing multiple at once.
Well, a great example. I think you think about Dustin Hoffman, who's a method actor. You think about the total narcissism of a role like Rain Man.
Yep.
You know,
yeah, right.
The critic Pauline Kael said that it's just Dustin Hoffman humping the same note for 2 hours. You know, and that's a perfect example of that kind of narcissism on display. But and also think about off of what you said, like Jordan Peterson is famous for saying that women are more susceptible to negative emotion. I mean, he says that there's data to back that up. I haven't seen the data, but that anecdotally that sounds right. You know,
and
so
they're
if
more
you
anxious.
Yeah. So if you have that ease of access to those kinds of emotions, then what do you have to do wasting time with method acting for? They're accessible. They're right there at the surface if you need them.
Meanwhile, us men got to schlub and find the emotion somewhere.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing we're narcissists.
Yeah, that's lest we just blow the scene by not being able to access who we are emotionally.
Well, it's cool to be obsessed with something. I like that.
You're all for it.
Yeah.
She's all for it.
All right.
Well, we'll see. Like, there's gonna be some comment like, "Women can method act." Yes, they can.
Bring it on. Give us examples.
Shut up.
Show us the receipts.
Yep. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.